Magandang araw po, ako po si Rosan de la Cruz at ito ang Reforma. Dito sa ating programa, tututukan natin ang mga institusyon at ahensya sa tatlong sangay ng gobyerno. Maayos ba ang pagpapatakbo ng mga ito o kailangan bang baguhin para mapagandaan nila ang kanilang serbisyo sa mga Pilipino? Sa aming episode ngayong linggo, tatalakayin natin ang global phenomenon na tinatawag na The Great Resignation. Ito po yung maraming kaso ng mga empleyadong nagre-resign sa kani-kanilang trabaho. Nagsimula ito noong panahon ng COVID-19 pandemic at ang tawag noon ay quiet quitting. At hanggang ngayon ay laganap pa rin ito. Ayon sa pag-aaral ng HR solutions firm na Sprout PH, hindi hiring ang pangunahing problema ng mga kumpanya ngayon, kung hindi ang employee retention. Pag-usapan natin ito kasamang ating mga guests na sina Mr. Keslay Chandra, ang Chief Product Officer ng Sprout Solutions at isang motivational speaker at life coach na si Ginoong Neil Hermo. Magandang umaga. Good morning, sirs.
Magandang umaga.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for gracing our invitation here in Reforma, Sir Keslay and Sir Neil. I would just like to ask, first and foremost, Sir Keslay, what is the study all about? And can you share to us what is the result?
So the study actually goes back, to when we were still in the pandemic. The trend started in the US, and in a sense, we can say that it was brought upon by the pandemic, where a large number of people, started quitting. Okay, like there was a great wave of resignation across, and once we saw that the trend was there, we were wondering, that if something similar was happening in the Philippines as well. And when we did a study, we found that yes, we also saw that the attrition rates in the Philippines had also gone up, and this was the Great Resignation. So, in a sense, you can say that the stress, the mental stress, that the pandemic brought about sort of led to this. So it was kind of bubbling under the surface, and the pandemic, just like brought it out. And this was, 3 years ago, right? So this great resignation wave started, and recently, right, the next wave that we see is the wave called quiet quitting, which is not exactly attrition, but I would say it's a worse thing. It's worse than attrition, because in quiet quitting, what's happening is that people are kind of giving up on their jobs, in a sense, that they are just doing the bare minimum to get by. And in a sense, that they have like given up that, what, I'm not going to put in any more extra effort. I'll just do the bare minimum. So they have quit on the role that they have to perform in the company. So that's the quiet quitting phenomenon that we are seeing right now.
Yeah, and even other employees in quitting, in this Great Resignation, you're right with that. They are just going to work just to perform their jobs, just to get their salaries and be compensated, but they do not find fulfillment and happiness in what they're doing, no. Sir Neil, what can you say about this? Yung sa mga consultations nyo with employees, with people, how do you relate to this?
Yeah, because like some of my clients, in terms of they're talking about asking help in terms of employee engagement, because Circus Light is right. Like there's a wave of people resigning, and it's not just about just money concerns, but it's about, is the company taking care of me? Is there like a programs for mental health, well-being? Am I being respected? And because of the glut of like communication with other people and information, like there are other opportunities where you can tap, especially because of the wave of pandemic. It opened the door, not just in the Philippines, but also globally. So you can now work globally. And so if they feel like, okay, I'm not being treated well here, or my values are not aligned here, even with just a minor challenge, they can easily just go jump ship. So as I'm talking to my clients, like when I'm giving talks, it's really about reminding them of why they are there in the company, and also instilling some purpose. Also, it's about just also showing a picture of grit, where if you want something great, there needs to have work, because sometimes people tend to, okay, life is hard here in the company, I need to go somewhere where it's going to be easy. So you just put them into inspire them that there's a perspective that if you want to be better or grow in skills, there needs to be like hard work, something like that.
I understand it was already mentioned before, no, na this started during the pandemic. What could be the cause? Bakit kaya nangyari ito nung panahon ng pandemya? Sir Neil?
Oh yeah, kasi it's just like what Circus Life said. This is not like it happened in the pandemic, but it was just sort of bubbling up. And then when pandemic came, people already, people around them, like people were getting sick. Some are even dying. And I'm in an industry where I'm most vulnerable. So I don't want to put myself and my family in a position where I will infect COVID. So then I will just, okay, take care of myself, then maybe choose opportunities or work that I won't be infected. So there was a reconsideration where instead of me going in the front lines, working in the grocery, talking to people, then maybe I'll just do the work from home thing since it's already opening up. So there was a reconsideration from people that they valued, okay, there are opportunities where I can do work from home in the province. So that was also a consideration where I can spend time with my family or I can sip a good drink in Siargao while working. So because of the pandemic, work from home, flexibility was offered. So that was a consideration where people were resigning in their current job and looking for place where it's not just easy for them, but at least they are safer in their minds and also have the terms that they want.
And I think also, no, during the pandemic, that's where we tested the
Like what Sir Neil mentioned, it was the tipping point, right? That all the issues that people were typically facing, when the pandemic started, it's suddenly like everyone's priorities changed. It was in some cases literally a matter of life and death, that this job that I am in where I have to drive 2 hours for, commute 2 hours each way, right? Okay, is it worth it? Okay. Also, when if you happen to be in an industry where remote work is possible, remote or hybrid work is possible, but your leadership or your management is insisting that no, you have to work on site. So yeah, it made everyone, reevaluate their priorities, right? And like Sir Neil mentioned, like suddenly for some industries, if not for every industry, right? The opportunities were not just limited to one country, right? Like you could be hired by a company like from like far away, right? Proximity wise. And for all you know, that company would take care of you as an employee in a much better fashion, than the previous company. Yeah. So
eh, yeah.
yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. Go ahead.
I was just saying, that like it also brought about issues like, there are places, there are workplaces where uh, people like the workplaces tend to be low trust environment, where you have to show up, you have to clock in, you have to file a, task list of things that you have done every day, right? Okay. So not everyone, enjoys that, right? Okay. People typically like to work in an environment, where it's high trust. You're trusted. You're treated as a mature, responsible adult, and the emphasis is given, on your ability to create the desired outcome, and not be physically present, for X number of hours.
And actually, even until now, employees are looking for job opportunities, which really offer the work from home setup, the remote set. This has been a new thing for the people, which they have embraced a lot during and even after the pandemic. Yes, this is
Yeah,
a
absolutely.
yeah. Circus Life.
No, I mean, you're quite right. Okay. I mean, like it has really changed, how work is viewed in general, right? Like the pandemic completely changed the definition of work. Yeah.
Now, how is it up until this day? How is the global trend? How is the global trend doing right now? Sir Neil, what can you say about yung mga clients nyo? How is it up until this day?
Like I think the resignation of people, it started even pre-pandemic, but because like it's a combination of circumstances where because there's work from home now, there's flexibility, there's hybrid, and people can do side gigs in different countries. It's just really more options to choose from. And some employers, they don't care whatever your background is or your course, as long as you get the job done, you can be trusted. Then if people see that opportunity, then they jump ship. It's just really also like a challenge in terms of the employer side, where when people resign, because I do have some clients wherein they said after 6 weeks or a few months that people will resign. And it's various reasons. It can be some reasons because something happened in the family, some they will try another opportunity. The loss of the employer there is because when you hire someone, you invest so much time, resources, money, training, and everything. And then after a few months, then they jump ship. So that's a tension that needs to be solved. Of course, it's valid when people leave. It can be maybe of the environment in the office. It can be other opportunities. It's just about many reasons. So it's something that the employer needs to figure out.
What can you say, no? What are the reasons for employee resignations? Can we just briefly state here, no? Why are some employees dissatisfied with their work?
Uh, there are many reasons why they are dissatisfied in their work. It can be maybe they feel like they're not being taken care of. Also, it can be compensation. It can be also office politics. It can also be gossiping, where people just backbite each other. So many reasons. And I'm sure Circus Lai can say more about those reasons as he has done a study about it.
Yes, Circus
Yeah,
Lion.
so to add to what Sir Neil said, right? So obviously, like those reasons are like very fundamental, right? And then coming from the fact that all of this was brought about by the pandemic, right? So if you are in an industry where it's possible for you to work remotely, however, your company's policies do not allow for even hybrid work for that matter, right? That's already one reason for you to look for something else or be disengaged because not everybody happens to be fortunate enough that they live within 30 minutes of their work, right? Yeah, people in Metro Manila and larger cities in general, right, they have to struggle a lot, right? Even if you have your own car, right, I mean, the drive could be quite long, right? And another reason is where another reason for disengagement is where employees don't see themselves growing in their role. Okay, they see that there is no clear path moving forward, and that could also go back to a couple of reasons like Sir Neil mentioned, like office politics, right? Or like an atmosphere of backstabbing where people are not helping each other, right? Like crab mentality. Yeah. So these are also some of the reasons why yeah, uh, people would be disengaged.
Actually, I can relate to that, no, yung office politics. I would just like to say, na people really would choose to have to leave their jobs even with high compensation when they experience like mental toxic workplace, office politics. So they will value more their mental health more than the compensation that they're getting. No, so I think you're right. Not all who leave value their salaries more or after their salaries all the time.
Yeah, that's true. Because sometimes it's not just about the money, and especially in the younger generation where just they prefer their welfare being taken care of, their mental health. So sometimes it's not just about the money. It can also be the flexibility where they can travel, because like the younger generation wants that flexibility. And yeah, it's not just really about the money, because sometimes when people go or planning to go, the company, what they will do as a knee-jerk reaction is to counter in terms of finances. So the person can get it or not, but it's just like a temporary solution. But there are layers upon layers of reasons why people are leaving. So it's not just about the money. So maybe as an employer, you also need to figure out, what's my company culture here? Do I have growth trajectories for my employees, just like Circus Life said? How's the like compensation? How's the engagement? How's the flexibility? So a lot of things to be considered.
And I can also agree with Circus Lai when he talked about the trust that the employers give their employees. For example, like in output-based work in hybrid setup, the trust that the employees get from their employers play a big role in this kind of setup.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to add to one thing that Sir Neil was talking about, so compensation, right? So absolutely right that somebody, you see somebody at the risk of leaving, right? It's like knee-jerk reaction. Hey, here's more money for you. But like Sir Neil said, it's not going to work out always, and it will not work out in the long run because that person perhaps will take the increase and will become one of those quiet quitting employees that we were talking about. Okay, I got my salary increase due to my circumstances. I don't really have the option of moving. Okay, let's say they have financial needs that have to be taken care of, but then they will just do the bare minimum, right? Which again in the long run hurts the company.
Sir Neil, what are the signs that an employee is doing this quiet quitting? That he or she is somehow on the edge of resigning from her job, from his or her job.
Yeah. Like I like the definition of Circus Lai when he mentioned about quiet quitting. It's that they are still in the company, but they're just doing the bare essentials. Actually, if if we will research on it, it has really different definitions because there's also like a notion of hustle culture. So hustle culture is work, 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 overachieve, and then quiet quitting is like the opposite of it, where you just do the bare minimum, do not overachieve, you just do what you're paid for. And to know the indicator if a person is having a quiet quitting session is that, of course, you see the historical data of that person. What is he doing before? And then is there a sudden change? Why is he not performing as much? Or maybe there are some delays in projects? Or is this person not initiating anymore, just like before? Because sometimes people are good in masking if they are quiet quitting. They can say the right words and do the right things if people are looking. But of course, the objective metric is the output. So is there a change in output? Because you will see if the person really changed. So that's one of the indicators. The output, is there like initiative? Is he doing other projects just like before? How about the turnout in terms of deadlines? Also, you can also see like I have this employee where you can see in the face, in the countenance when the work is going to be hard. The industry is in F&B and restaurants, wherein if there are a lot of customers, you will see in the countenance, the face, he's not just really happy about it. Sometimes it can be very visible, even if he's not telling it, but you will see the body movement, the countenance. So you can see some indicators there. So of course it depends from person to person.
Yeah. Circus Lai, do you have anything to add to that?
No, absolutely spot on, right? Those are the signs. And I mean, the onus is really on the leader, the manager, to look out for these signs. So imagine, like imagine a situation where the people, like the frontliners, are disengaged. Okay, their team leads are also disengaged. The manager is also disengaged. So imagine, the CEO of the company, like what will happen to that person if everyone involved is disengaged? Then it will really have be up to the CEO to actually, dig deep and figure out, like whether people are actually disengaged or not. So my point is, that the leadership has to be, like very alert and uh, be in tune, with what's going on the ground, right? Otherwise, like Neil said, the people who are quite quitting, right? They could just say the right things, right? Okay, and say the right words and bear the right facial expression into the right time, right? It's easy, especially in larger organizations, right? Okay. In smaller organizations, it might be harder because it's like everybody's in front of everyone all the time. But in larger organizations, it's so easy to get away with it. So it's really up to the leadership, the management, to really engage, right, and look out for these signs.
And I can
Yeah. And
see,
just
yeah. Yes, Sir Neil.
sorry, just to add, Roseanne, because like people can get away with it, especially if your work is hybrid or you're online. So if you're
Yeah.
online, you can just smile, you can just type, be active, and then when the work work is out or no more online meetings, then you just do what you want to do. You can just be
Yeah.
very active during the online sessions. Type there, do the emojis, thumbs up. But that's just it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And even that's why yung employers who keep on asking their people, how are you, the simple how are you doing, can I is there something I can help you with, that's something for the employees, right? um they put big impact. They give a big impact on that.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, because we have an employee and always asking her like, oh, how can I help you? Any concerns? What do you need? Any resources or tools that you need so that your work will be easier. And then there's this moment wherein she was just sharing her heart out and just thanking me that, sir, thank you that you're somehow a good employer because you're treating us like people. Because I don't know, some employers just maybe see people, their employers, as a number or a workforce or a robot, but it's really seeing them as people. Of course, I'm not perfect in doing these things, but as much as you can, you just try to give them the dignity and respect and just listen to them. And if they feel valued, sometimes that matters more. If they feel that they are valued, the people are listening to them. And of course, when they say their concerns, not everything can be solved or not everything has a budget for the solution, but at least you are trying.
Yeah. If they feel valued, if they feel heard, they will give double, even double. They can multiply the amount of effort that they give to the company. As employers, to the employers, what should they do with this great resignation that we are experiencing right now?
Be human in a nutshell. That, going back to what Sir Neil was saying, right? That first and foremost, we have to we have to treat everybody, with respect, right? Respect with dignity. And at its core, it's about, being human, having empathy, having compassion, right? I mean, you could, and more often than not, uh, you might not be your company, or or as an employer, you might not have the resources to offer, like the highest salary or car plan or the best insurance, right? But I think as human beings, we all have the capability, to offer empathy and compassion, right? And just treat each other with dignity and respect. And if we just start with that, I mean, that in itself, will be like one of the most significant changes. Yeah. Like, not to treat, your people as mere numbers, but to really treat them as people.
Sir Neil, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, yeah, circus slide. That's really spot on. It's just really valuing the person and also understanding that people go through seasons, because there are times when even high performers, when something happens in the family or something's happening with them, I think you can extend margin or grace to them, just like how when we were starting, when we were younger, people gave us many chances and grace. I think we can also extend the compassion and grace, like when people mess up, there's an underlying reason. Maybe something is happening in the family, maybe in the finances, or someone got sick in their family. So it's really getting to know them. But of course, there's a balance there where you want to also be firm with, because sometimes there are outputs need to be taken care of. But of course, it's really having that conversation, and having that conversation takes time and it's not easy, especially if it's in a big company. It's hard to do, but as much as you can, just like what Sir Christai said, it's just really showing that you are human, that even if there are challenges, that you can extend understanding and help. So that's it. And of course, to also help it, you need to also check yourself as an employer. How are you treating your people? How's your culture? How's the compensation and benefits? So you need to also check that.
Yes, and this phenomenon, or the resignations, it cannot be blamed on the employees alone. Sometimes some employers look at this as something bad on the side of, they take it against the employees who resign without even looking at how is the culture in our company doing, or what are we doing to keep these employees. So it is better talaga for the to put so much effort on the employee retention. Sir Neil, among your clients, or among your clients, have you encountered employees who regret resigning from their jobs?
I have actually, it's a friend. Then we had a conversation like in the pandemic, and so I'm giving him advice. I said, bro, don't resign first. That's my suggestion, because because during the pandemic, a lot of people are resigning, and then he's working in an IT industry. And I said, bro, it's going to be globally competitive, because if you are trying to apply in a certain company, especially IT, you are uh, battling against not just people who are applying in the Philippines, but all over the world. So what happened is, like, I think for 1.5 years, he doesn't have work. But eventually now he has work, and somehow I think he settled from at least a certain work where it was not a work where he was enjoying before, but because he needed to work already, because it took a while. What happened, because his finances ran dry, he stayed with his mom to save costs, which is okay. At least he has a family to help him. But he regretted it because he just quit, because it was not easy anymore, and he regretted it because he went too fast in quitting, instead of at least having next company to jump into. So he just quitted because he just don't like it anymore. He said it was just really hard. So yeah, so maybe the lesson for him is that at least before you resign, there's a sure opportunity where to go. Maybe at least that. But there's also a trend where even in the pandemic, if there's no next work opportunity secured, they're just jumping out. So there's also a trend of that during the pandemic, especially if your health is a concern.
And your mental health, your physical and your mental health, no. Sir Neil, um if you since you have mentioned, no, about the regrets of resigning employees, what are the things that you say? For example, I went up to you and I just say, I want to quit. What advice can you give me?
Definitely, I'll say, I don't know really much of your life or context. It's really irresponsible for me to give you uh, a recommendation for 5 minutes, and it will affect your 10 years of your life. But it's just really asking questions. Why do you want to resign? And then you really want to know why they are resigning. And I'm just pointing out, it doesn't mean it's hard, you need to resign. It doesn't mean that you're not enjoying certain things, you will automatically resign. Because I'm also telling them where sometimes pressure and tension is good, because it will build you up as a person. For me, at least that's how I see it, wherein even if it's hard, maybe that's the very reason why you are there, so that you will grow as a person, you will grow your skills, you will grow your competence. So I'm instilling that idea, but of course it will be his recommendation. So that's my question, underlying reason. What's the main reason why he wants to resign? And it would also be good, I will say to him, okay, list down all the negatives, and then list down all the positives if you will stay, and then see it. Because sometimes people are just emotional when they want to resign. Oh, maybe because something happened in the office, they had a fight or a confrontation with the boss or something, they became emotional, or ego is in the way. They just want to resign. So I just want to, of course, set them aside first, and then let the emotions die. Is this really what you want? And then it's really up to them. But it's really writing the pros and cons. And then if ever you will jump ship, is there a sure opportunity where you can work? And then the next work would, is it aligned to your growth trajectory? Is it the compensation that you want? Will it offer flexibility? So it's really more questions if they really want to do it. Because I will, as much, my default is I want them to stay because it's not easy to find a job anymore. It's not hard. Like I was talking to some of the people we hired, wherein it's been like 6 months where they don't have a job, and they are really grateful when we hired them. So that's one. I will also tell them that maybe it's good to build muscle there first. Like give them a chance to succeed, because sometimes an early sign of hardship, they just jump ship. I just want to let them know where they need to give themselves a chance longer for them to succeed, because it takes time to build muscle and mastery.
Sir Kislay, on the part of i- on the employers. For example, I am an employer, my people are resigning. What can you give me, what advice can you give me right now?
Well, if, as an employer, if your people are resigning, you need to treat that as like perhaps the most important problem, a crisis. Okay? You really need to treat that as a crisis because just like, Sir Neil said, it's hard to find people, right? Okay. So it goes both ways, right? It's hard to find a job and it's also hard to find, people, good people, that will help you build the company and take it forward, right? And for whatever reason, if people are leaving in droves, without pointing the finger at the people who are leaving, it makes a lot more sense for you to look inward and figure out, what are we doing wrong as a company, as an organization, right? And where is the room for us to improve? Because, it goes both ways, right? Yeah. Like not everybody who's leaving might be leaving for the right reasons per se. Yeah. But we also need to, as employers, as management, as leadership, we have to make sure, that we are fostering the right environment, right? Our culture, is good. We have an atmosphere, where people feel psychological safety, right? And of course, like dig deep into the heart of the matter and really pinpoint, the specific issues that are leading to resignations. Yeah. And this would require you to take multiple approaches. Like at Sprout, we offer solutions, for employee engagement measurement, right? So it's like, you can use solutions like this, and you can also go about it the old-fashioned way. Like get talking to your people, skip levels. Like if you are the VP of a company, right, don't talk to your directors or the team leads. Go down 1 2 3 levels, and start talking to the people at the very uh, lowest levels, right, the very frontliners, and then try to seek the truth for yourself. And of course, that would lead to an improvement in policies that would hopefully help you stem this bleeding in a sense.
Sir Kislay, I would just like to ask, no, majority of those who are resigning are single or do not have their own family yet? Is that the factor why it's easy for them to resign?
Not necessarily. So like yeah, a lot of the people who actually like going back to to the question that you asked, and then Sir Deal answered, that sometimes young people, like first sign of hardship, they leave, right? But not necessarily. Sometimes we also see people who have commitments and families and liabilities, right? But it turns out that the work environment has become so toxic that they are like, I can't stay anymore, right? I have to leave.
Sometimes where when you're really on the edge of quitting, and then all the toxicity in the workplace piled up, you will not
Yeah.
you will not think of whether you have a new job to jump into, or
Yeah.
whether you have a family to feed. You will that's nothing eh. You will not look at it anymore kasi you just want to be out of it. You just want to be
Yep.
out of the toxicity.
Yep.
Sir Neil, can you share, do you want to share anything about this?
Yeah, like in terms of the toxicity, yeah, like I've spoke to some people where in their work environment it's just toxic. Some can stay, some cannot stay, and it's good that at least in our generation now, where mental health is being at least out there, and slowly it's becoming less taboo. And because for me, yes, I want to build grit, but if you yourself is really breaking so much, then maybe it's really about time to reconsider, because there's more life than just your work. And because sometimes what we do is, okay, I'll stay longer, but up to what cost, up to what extent. I mean, for me, I want really to persevere, but maybe there are situations where it's just really hard, where the the setup of the office, the politics, the gossip is really taking a toll with your mental health. Then maybe it's time to distance yourself or look for another job or don't spend time with them. It's really not easy, but especially if you are a breadwinner and people really depend on you, it's really hard to quit more, because if you quit and you don't have a job, how can you feed your family? So that's really hard. So for me, in terms of like a toxic environment, you just control what you can control. You can't control the outside factors, and there are cause and effect things. You need to know the triggers. When is it happening? Why is it happening? Is it because of you going to a certain place, talking to a certain person? If there are things that's happening like that, then it's better to avoid it, especially if you can't just resign. Then you control yourself, because that's what you can control. And also build, I don't know, just really security in your life, that no matter external garbage coming in, you will be stronger. Some people do, some people, they go to friends to just share their emotions. Some that also help other people, they connect with God, that even with whatever's happening externally, they are at peace. So it's really case to case, but you can control what you just can control. So yeah, it's actually a blessing if you are in a company or an environment where it's nurturing and they value you. So yeah.
Yes, to add to that, no, and as also the last leading to our last question, what do you think is the ideal workplace? Like, what should be the Circus Lai? Please, start this answer, no, this question, no. What is an ideal work environment for you, or what should be the ideal work environment that people should be looking for?
So for me, the ideal work environment will be a high trust environment where the emphasis, is on output and outcomes rather than the number of hours spent and the number of hours logged and tasks checked off a list. Uh, and the ideal work environment would be one, where it's nurturing, it's collaborative, right? And as much as possible, politics has no room. And yeah, I mean, in a nutshell, it's really that. Okay? Like an environment, where it's high trust, output focused, outcome driven. There is an opportunity for you to grow yourself professionally and personally. There is psychological safety. Uh, these are the traits, of an ideal work environment for me.
Neil, how about you, Sir Neil?
Oh yeah, yeah. For me, I think the ideal place where it's the best for work conditions, it's I think is where Circus Life is leading, because I know he will take care of the people. Yeah,
You're
but
right.
but 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 kidding aside, what the Circus Life said is having psychological safety. Then people take care of you, because sometimes even with good employers or good bosses, sometimes they can't really match your salary expectations. But sometimes people are willing to go with you in the same direction, because there's a direction, a good vision, and you're being taken care of. So it's not just about seeing people as a number, but also you are being heard, valued, respected. And of course, a good company also is really having the flexibility that in terms of the hybrid work. So it really depends on you, but it's just really what Circus Slide mentioned: psychological safety, high trust, people respect you. It's also a bonus if you have good compensation, and also you grow your career, because that's also something that will make a person stay, where they are growing as a person.
That's good. Thank you so much, Sir Neil. Uh, baka po meron kayong gustong i-promote, and thank you so much for gracing our invitation for Reforma. Baka you want to promote something. I know that you will be having your show here in Manila Times.
Yeah. Thank you, Rosan. It's really an honor to share the stage virtually with you guys with Circus Life, and I'm just honored to share my thoughts to be of value, and I'm also privileged to do this with different companies as well. So if you are a company that needs a resource speaker, someone who can facilitate like a team building, so I'm your guy. I do customizations in terms of topic. It can be leadership, it can be teamwork, it can be about sales, it can be about growth mindset, it can be a lot of things. Something that would add value to your employees. My heart and my goal is just like in my virtual background is just to inspire confidence and instill hope. And I'm doing it in whatever way I can.
Thank you so much, Sir Neil. How about you, Sir Kislay? Thank you so much. We have learned so much from you and Sir Neil in this episode. No, what's your message? Do you have anything to promote?
Well, first and foremost, thank you very much for extending invite. So it was a great honor, to be talking about this topic with you and Sir Neil. I just want to say that when it comes to managing, an employee's well-being and employee's welfare, right? I would just want, I would just want our audience, people who are going to listen to this, decision makers, business owners, to consider Sprout Solutions to give us a chance, because we have designed, solutions catering to the nuances of the Philippine market that help you address pain points across the employee life cycle. Yeah. And recently, we have also started embedding AI into our product suite. And our fundamental goal when it comes to AI embedded HR solutions is human capital augmentation. That we want to turn people into superhumans using AI and not the other way around. So I hope that our audience, people out there, remember us for that.
Thank you so much again, Sir Neil and Circus Life, for this opportunity to talk about this quiet quitting, kasi it has been a long time problem of employers and employees also, no, who have been in this kind of situation for so long. Thank you so much. Sa trabaho, may tinatawag tayong KPI o yung tinatawag na Key Performance Indicators o yung mga pamantayan sa epektibo at epesyenteng trabaho. Pero mukhang dapat yata ibang kahulugan ng KPIs para maiwasan ng mga employers ang the Great Resignation kung tawagan. Ito ay to keep people informed, keep people inspired, keep people involved, and keep people interested. Matuto po tayong pahalagahan ang ating mga empleyado. At sa mga empleyado naman, mahalin natin ang trabaho natin. Because finding a job is like finding your true love. Kapag nakita mo na ang tama at nararapat sa'yo, pahalagahan at mahalin natin. Dito po nagtatapos ang aming talakayan sa mga may init na isyong nakakaapekto sa pagbibigay ng serbisyong pampubliko ng mga institusyon at ahensya ng gobyerno. Sa pagbabago para sa pag-unlad, isulong natin ang reforma sa gobyerno. Maraming salamat po.